Time will pass and we shall be gone forever. We'll be forgotten. Our faces will be forgotten, our voices and how many there were of us. Our sufferings will turn into joy for those who live after us. Happiness and peace will come to this earth. And then they will remember kindly and bless those who are living now. Oh, my dear sisters, it seems as if just a little more and we shall know why we live, why we suffer. If only we knew. If only we knew. Thank you, sir. That's all I wanted. You made me very happy. God bless you, sir.
Tell me, what is Neil Simon's The Good Doctor all about?
Well, it's an adaptation and alliteration, I would say, of some of the short stories of Chekhov. You know, a lot of us are much more familiar with Chekhov's plays. We say Chekhov and people think of The Three Sisters or Cherry Orchard or things like that. And not as many people are familiar with the short stories that he wrote. And there are literally hundreds of them. And they're almost more like little fables and a lot of comedy. I keep thinking that they're almost, you know how they said that Seinfeld was a show about nothing? And I think some of these stories they're about nothing. They're about the silliness that we put ourselves into as human beings. And so what Simon did, sort of in respect of Chekhov, and the title The Good Doctor itself is drawn from the fact that Chekhov's true career was as a physician. He was not a writer by trade.
Did he ever practice?
He had a full-time practice. He practiced his entire life. He died relatively young of tuberculosis, but the whole writing thing was what he did after he got done with work and seeing his patients and going home at night and by the firelight. And of course we think of Chekhov as a writer, and surely he must have been a writer. He was a doctor who wrote. And so that's part of the homage that starts right there is, you know, that play on words of the good doctor who continues to care for his community and care for his patients, and at the same time, what drives him, what his passion is, the writing.
Now, this is a series of skits, is it not?
It is. It's a series of 9 or 10. There's a couple that are optional, and some we've done and some we haven't, of various little variations on Chekhov stories. You can take each one of the skits and you can go find a Chekhov story that is maybe not exactly the same, but relatively similar. And there's a little blend of, I think there's some 20th century elements that come into it, because even though the stories are set, you know, pre-Bolshevik Russia.
So what era? The 1850s?
I would put it at about 1885.
1885.
Yeah, judging, I mean, that is where I picture it in terms of Chekhov's age. So you're talking pre-Bolshevik era, but I think the dialogue and the word selection that Simon has made, a lot of it is very 20th century. And there are a few references that are modern day, and I think that's part of what makes all of the stories not feel artificial.
Now, the backstory, when Neil Simon was inspired to write this, it was right after his first wife passed away.
Yes.
And this was kind of a therapeutic endeavor on his part, wasn't it?
And this is actually the show that he met Marcia Mason on.
Right.
So, I'm sure that plays a little bit. So, but I was fortunate to get to read the script early on, right after we'd selected the season, and was immediately drawn to it and charmed by it. And I love the variation in the stories, the fact that some of them are just Marx Brothers-like, and we've made some choices about the direction we want to go in with some of them. The surgery, there's where a tooth is removed, has a lot of Marx Brothers references written right into it.
Now, who plays the narrator who's basically the Chekhov character.
In our production, it's Jeffrey Wallace, who has a lot of experience here at Old Town Playhouse. Grew up in the children's theater. Has done a couple of, has started to do more plays on the main stage, but this is a great big first big role for him to do it. And it's a monster.
He's a young man of what, 21 years? Now, is that a typical age that that particular character is usually cast at?
Not necessarily. In fact, one of the ways that the show is written is that there are some lack of specifics in terms of which people are in each one of the vignettes. You have a lot of freedom. In fact, and one of the things that we did when we were casting was think about what we thought each one of our actors lent in their own personality, their own strengths and weaknesses, and what they play up really, really well, and going through the sequence of all the scenes and picking out what parts we thought would be best for people. Some of those things are stipulated in the script, some of them are not. So Jeffrey's, there's definitely a role in there for a younger man of Jeffrey's age, but not necessarily doing all the characters that he is doing. You know, he is on the younger side to be the narrator, but I think it also plays entirely believably. You know, because at the age of 2021, Chekhov would have been out there working and writing, and as a young man, we've done a few little tweaks here and there.
How old was Chekhov when he passed away?
I believe he was 43.
So when he was writing a lot of the plays, he was a young man.
Yeah, 20s and 30s. So yeah.
And who else is in the Good Doctor?
Well, we have one of the fun things is we've had a whole range of experiences that people have. This is my first show directing. This is a great big part for Jeffrey to have. We have very experienced folks who've done a lot of stuff here at the Playhouse. Our two gentlemen who are in the production with Jeffrey are Al Lean and Mike Kearney, who have done all different kinds of comic roles, serious roles. They've been directors, assistant directors, built scenery, you name it. Our two ladies who are in the production, Nichole Case, has done a number of shows here. She's always gone more towards, I think, more serious roles, and this has given her an opportunity to play some different characters. And then we're blessed to have somebody who's brand new, Bernice Widrig.
Has she done anything else here at the Playhouse?
She hasn't. This is her first show.
First show?
She and I had sung in a chorus together for about 5 years. We'd been Sweet Adelines, and so we knew each other, and I knew her skills in terms of stage presence and how well she relates to an audience. But I was pleasantly surprised when I walked into auditions, and she walked into auditions. So Elizabeth Stewart has been our assistant director and stage manager, and that's her first time doing that, having that responsibility. So we've had a lot of mix of, you know.
Who costumed the show?
Jeanette Mason did. Kathy Verstrady helped lend a hand, and you know, we had looked at a lot of images and pulled a lot of different things together. You know, it's a little bit more challenging period to go 1800s and find things that are going to fit on people, and to do the multiple vignettes and multiple stories and multiple characters.
I love the hats
that the women
wore
really cool, aren't they?
in that era.
Yeah. So we had to be pretty adaptable in terms of, you know, how fast can people make a costume change or a scene change, and you know, what can we put them in, and you know, so it's been fun.
Most people know Neil Simon from The Odd Couple,
Right.
Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. How do you see the Good Doctor measuring up with some of those great Neil Simon movies?
It's better. No, I think it's.
I mean, it's really completely different.
It's totally different, and I think that's part of its charm. I think is that it is very, very different from the rest of the stuff that he has written, and that when you say Neil Simon, it evokes a certain image in a lot of people. And some of that is very true. You know, the wit, the dexterity of the language, The humor, the ability for every character to poke fun at themselves at different points. But there's many things that are different. But that's part of its charm too, I think.
So, opening night's tonight.
Opening night is tonight.
How did your preview go?
It went really well. It went really well. I mean, it's my first time as director. I don't know. It was just fine. They did a great job. You know, it's never perfect, but that's the blessing and curse of live performance.
You know,
Expect the unexpected.
You gotta love a Dill Simon play.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that hate him because they just
Yeah.
feel like he hasn't done any serious work and stuff. But boy, I mean, he's the most successful playwright.
He
American
is,
playwright.
and I think, you know, there are a couple of scenes in this show, you saw one of them last night, the song, that are very serious. You know, this is an unusual play because there was music written to go with it. When it was originally presented, there was actually a chamber sort of klezmer ensemble that played a concert beforehand. And so that music was recorded, and that's what you use as your music during the show. But one of the most touching points is this wonderful evocative song that is two older people who are alone in life. And the song, you know, is there time enough to fall in love before your life ends? And it's you think Neil Simon, not Neil Simon at all.
A kind, gentle-looking person who's seen his share of life. A kind, gentle-looking person, and he's never with a wife. If this kind, gentle-looking gentleman speaks once again to me, should this shy, nervous, widowed lady go out with him for tea?
You know, it makes sense that he did that. It was
Yeah.
1973, I believe, was
Yep,
it not?
yep.
Yeah, I believe he was able to get away with that kind of structured play.
Yeah.
Early on in his
Yeah.
career, I don't think that it probably would have worked out too well.
No, once everybody got used
later
to. That's
on.
true. That's true. Yeah, and there's a serious-ish scene in the second act too, the audition, which part of it is comic. It's sort of a ding-dong girl from the country who comes in and who really wants to audition for this director, and it's very silly. But then at the end, she reads a selection from Three Sisters, and it's serious, and
She plays all three.
Yes, that's part of the storyline.
The waiting list. If they put me on the end of that list again, I'll have to wait another 6 months, and then by then I'll be 23. It'll be too late to be 22. Please, I'm really feeling much better. I think my fever's down to 101 now.
I can see you have your heart set on being an actress.
My heart, my soul, my very breath, the bones in my body, the blood in my veins.
Yes, that's enough of your medical history.
Plays all three. But it gives the actress playing that part a chance to really, you know, you've got 45 seconds to really hook them dramatically. You know, and that I think is part of what the actors have enjoyed and can enjoy in this show, is that they get to be all these different personas. You don't have to be one character and research and get into it and get into their head and how do they act. You have to figure out how to be that for this kernel of time and this one little story, and then
A play like this really, for people that want to go and just forget about all the miserable details of their life,
Yeah.
this type of structure is really fantastic. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
storylines and a lot of different dialogue.
If you don't like this one, don't worry about it, because in 10 minutes it will be over and there'll be another one.
It's like
So,
watching 10 sitcoms all
Yes.
in 2 hours.
That's true.
Right.
It's a true story.
Carly, it's very nice talking with you about
Wayne.
The Good Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.